right, it's a beautiful Friday, and Esther is looking all ready for the Friday.
Hi, Moses.
How you doing?
I'm fine. How
All
are
right,
you?
you seem like you're ready to hit the town,
Of
paint
course,
paint the town red.
of course, that's the idea. It's TGIF, baby.
All right, TGIF indeed. Oh well, as it is TGIF, I'm sure this is not the kind of news some
No.
Nigerians are waiting for.
Mm-mm.
Well, we hear that the federal government has announced a 5 billion naira palliative for each state of the federation, including the Federal Capital Territory (FCT), and this is to cushion the impact of the removal of the petrol subsidy. Well, Babagana Zulum, governor of Borno State, made the announcement in Abuja on Thursday when he spoke to State House correspondents at the end of the National Economic Council NEC meeting. Vice President Kashim Shetima presided over that meeting. Well, joining us virtually to discuss this and make sense of it all is John Akirile, a public affairs analyst, and we also have Great Emo, also a public affairs commentator. All right, good morning to you, John.
Good morning to you, Moses. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Good morning, Great Emo.
Good morning, my brother, and good morning, my sister. How you
Good
doing?
morning,
And
great.
good
I'm
morning to our
fine, thank
viewers.
Great, you
you.
seem extra happy today. You seem extra excited. Is this the kind of announcement you were hoping for?
I mean, the palliative, that is the big boys palliative. It
Mm.
hasn't gotten to us
Ah.
anyway. This is the governor's palliatives.
So what do you
The
what do you
judiciary has gotten theirs, the National Assembly. The
Mm-hmm.
governors are getting theirs. So I don't know when to get to us.
so what do you make of this announcement really?
Well, it's still about throwing money at the problem, though substantive enough to really do anything. We have seen it is the same pattern that was used in the last 8 years. Under Buhari, it was called bailout because you remember that
Wow, I think there seems to be a glitch there. But Moses, when I heard the news, you know what came to my mind? Do you know what I thought immediately I
Can you
heard?
hear me?
Okay,
Yes,
fine.
yes, we can
Yes,
hear
we
you.
can hear you.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, under Buhari, we have palliatives, a kind of palliative.
All right, we seem to be having a glitch with the
Mm.
with Great network.
Network. John, are you there with us? Okay, I think.
And yeah, you
All
can hear
right,
me.
thank you.
So, John, your thoughts really when you heard about this? Great. Let's
okay,
find let's take a little break so we can fix your
it's okay,
network from
it's
our
okay.
end. Why we're trying to do that? Let's get John's view on this. John.
John, please
I
go ahead,
think for
proceed.
me, just like my brother Great said, we are not still, it's not a time that we are serious yet. You know, Yorubas will say in the natural balance, "Orí bíbẹ́ kọ́ lóògùn orí fífọ́." Throwing money at people will never solve the root cause of the problem. And what is the problem? The problem is that people do not have, sustainable source of livelihood. And that is just the bane of our problem. So if you like bringing 1 million palliatives to people, it will not solve the problem. Why? Because we need to move from the aspect of throwing money at people to helping people create wealth themselves. There's this feeling that comes to you when you know that you have a good job that has a good pay, you can fend for yourself by yourself. That's self-dependency. That is where the government needs to think. If you like give people 100,000 naira monthly as palliatives, it will not solve the problem. I think we should shift away from this issue of handing out cash to people, all in the name of bringing succor to them. You are not bringing succor to them. Rather, you are only cutting, the problem from the rooftop when the foundation is really destroyed. So what you need to do is to really excavate from the foundation and make sure that you have a good foundation for them. So even when there's no roof, you know that you have a strong foundation that they can build on themselves. That's what the government should work on. For me, throwing money at people is never the solution. People out of economic quagmire or little. It has never been, and it will not be.
Have you gotten back? Are you connected now?
Yes, I'm here. I guess someone was trying to interpret
Okay.
something.
All right. So
So
you were
two
saying
things I would
something
say.
before the connection got
Yes,
disrupted.
under Buhari, we have the same governance system where you know Buhari gave some monies to state, particularly my states of Abia State. I know then they got over 14 billion in two trenches or thereabout over that. And rather than make it better, the state became worse. The governor and his boys had a lot of money to actually steal, because you discover that after that Buhari gave that money, the state before the intervention was owing about 7.2 billion in salaries and gratuities. And after the money was still given to him, they were not paid. They became big men, stole more, became richer, and even up until he left after 8 years, the governor was still owing salaries, pensions, and gratuities. Some pensioners were even dying in front of government house while they were protesting. And what is also important to note is that between the three tiers of government, there are literally no charity activities going on there. These monies are actually loans, but they are not properly explained to people. When federal government gives such interventions, they are called loans. It is for people to maybe cushion the effects of the crisis at the moment, and maybe thereafter they will begin to deduct it from their federal allocation account. But even though it is now mentioned to be a kind of palliative, I still don't know if it is free money. And I also know that there were some kind of palliatives in the past where individuals got, and they were later being sent text messages and deductions were being made from their account. But this money, even when they are deducted back, they also get stolen. Nigeria is in a very deep crisis, and this is not the kind of crisis that throwing small changes can solve. What is the real problem? You are importing petroleum products, and because we are importing petroleum products, and we are also import dependent on other products, there is always high demand on foreign currency, which is the dollar, the currency for denomination of currencies. It is the currency for valuation. And as long as we are needing this dollar per minute to import things we need and even things we don't need, there will continue to be pressure on the naira. Now, two things are happening simultaneously. We have left naira to actually the whims and caprices of the market forces, as it was said. But what has not been done is that even as we did that, we have not been able to, plug the loopholes from where bankers are now manipulating the system. Now you find out that the exchange rate, the official exchange rate, there's still more disparity between the official exchange rate and the parallel market. And when some of these importers go to look for $1 at the official exchange, they go back to the black market because they must import. So look at it, you have now removed subsidy and you have to import, especially the most commodity, which is and which you must need every day. As long as there is pressure on naira to raise the dollar to import, naira can never come back to its own normal value. Hence, what needs to be done is, even if petroleum products are selling at international oil prices, for the local refiners, if the refineries are working. Hello, are you there?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Okay. For the local refiners, you make them pay in local currency. So the first thing to do is to get the refineries working. But we have seen over 1.5 trillion that have been spent in the times past for the turnaround maintenance, and they've never produced a liter of fuel. Nobody is probing that. We have seen an NPC that cannot account for the billions that were spent for subsidy, cannot account for that. Recovering those monies, we are supposed to be the focal point first, and ensuring that the local refineries are working. And then intervention funds should be given in the area of productivity, because what is the key issue now is that you are using the little resources you have to import. So productivity, productivity, productivity is the answer. No, I don't understand any economist in the world who, with the elementary knowledge of economics, which I, as just a common social scientist, even with the basic knowledge of economics, I understand that the critical point to relieving Nigeria of this burden is to instigate productivity. For example, starting with things that we need in this country that have like 9 months, 6 months, 5 months, 10 months kind of output period. That is things like cassava, beans, maize, poultry, and all of those things that we can put money into in a very strategic manner, not like the anchor borrower program, where you gave money to politicians who actually expended the money, and then till tomorrow, rice is the price of rice is growing astronomically, and we are still importing rice through open borders, a way and manner to satisfy the local consumption, and yet we are not meeting the need. To balance this situation, the all resounding statement and voice should be production, production, production. The leadership should be critical in structure and framework on how do we improve productivity, at least with the things that Nigerians need every day. Once there is less pressure, then Naira will no longer be under pressure. Whatever we have in our hand, we now have I'm even suspecting that once you increase salary of civil servants, who are federal civil servants are about 700 and something thousand. The totality of state civil servants, look at Lagos State with an estimated population of 22 million people. Less than 70,000 people are workers there, which is less than 1% of the state population. Likewise, the federal government, less than 1 million people, is less than 1% of 220 million people. If you increase salaries for these people, what you get is inflation, because what you should be asking for is not what the amount of money people are paid, is the value. Is the value of what the Naira in their hand can buy. We have much volume of cash, chasing little, creating more problems. So 5 billion, I tell you, is a drop in an ocean in the crisis we are in now.
All right, John. Now, let me. I want your thoughts on this. Just some days back, I think last week or thereabouts, we saw 109, 109 men.
Great. Can you please mute your mic? I'm getting an echo back.
Okay. Can you hear me, John?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, so just a few days back, we had 109 people receive 2 million each, which was called a token, for their relaxation and enjoyment.
Yes, prayers.
Nah. Yeah, prayers. Okay, prayers. And we know that these people, like I had a guest here some days back, and he insisted that these people are people of means. They have, so that 2 million is little. They could easily dash, give that out. But it was given to them, and they took it. Now we are hearing that states that have over 2 million people. What am I saying, over 2 million? Over 5 million people, really. I don't know the smallest state in Nigeria. Lagos alone has about an estimated population of 22 million. Now, we have, in the north, we have millions of people, because if a family in the north can have like 10
Tell me,
kids.
are you trying to break down the money to each state? It's 2K. I don't know. It's
Okay.
2K.
So, what do you make of this amount, John? This amount going to the
Imagine
states,
2 million, 2,000.
I
John?
think for me, it's really a sad pronouncement, you know. And when the global audience listen to such a pronouncement, they see us that Nigeria is a country that shows that our political leaders show so much affluence amidst poverty. And the indexes are there for anyone to go and fact check. If we are one of, if not second or third poorest, you know, in terms of all indices, and you see our politicians, if they are not first three most paid in the world, then that is the irony in which we find ourselves. And for you to say that people are giving 2 million naira, you know, as allowances for vacation, please let me ask you, a professor a university, either federal or state university, that has served for over 20 years in the academic institution, how much do they give to him when he goes on sabbatical leave? And that will show where we place importance. You know, we have made politics cash and carry, where everybody sees that once I get in, let me have my own share of the national cake. And it's really a sad moment for me because I feel so sad. And I look at it that, are these people really serving the interest of Nigerians, or they are serving their own interests? Let me even digress a bit. Look at some of the constituency projects. I think I've been able to grant some of their ceremonies where they say they are doing empowerment and giving back kind of constituency projects. That is more of a political caucus meeting within their political members. So do an investigation on your own, independent investigation now, and ask benefited from this so-called empowerment of senators all across the length and breadth of the country. Which party do they belong to? Will you see somebody from PDP get a tricycle from a senatorial district where there's an APC senator? The answer is no. So it means that they all go into office to service their own political structure, hoping that someday they become an emperor. And that's what is happening. So we must divert from that kind of thinking into a people-oriented, service-oriented kind of leadership, where people go there genuinely to serve the interests of the people, and they don't even look at the largesse that comes with it. And as a matter of fact, I'm of the strong opinion that some of these largesse should be cut short. The great was speaking about refineries. For God's sake, if we'll be frank with this government, I think I will say that to this government, point blank on this forum, that the government should sell off these refineries. How much did Dangote use to build his own refinery? How many years did it take him? I'm not sure it took Dangote up to 8 years to build that refinery. So the point, we are even borrowing and having a loan to build new refineries, and we can do this in 6 to 8 years, I think is the right step in the direction. And we are sure that the next administration that will come in will no longer be talking about fuel subsidy. Why? Because we have 1 or 2 functional refineries that can give us minimum of 6,000, 650,000 million barrels, you know, of crude oil, and that can even serve our local consumption and start exporting to other West African countries. And so I think going by this way, it's not service to the people, rather it's service to a selected few that I call the court members.
Now, Greg, this question is for you. A couple of critics have said the measure by the federal government to alleviate or relieve, Nigerians from the current state of the subsidy removal and the drastic measures it's had on Nigerians. But the Trade Union Congress and the Nigeria Labour Congress are actually afraid of these relief materials that have been disbursed to several states in the Federation. They are saying that the government or the governors of each of these states would take advantage of this, and possibly the plausible effect this relief is meant to have on the indigenes of each of these states, we may not actually realize it. Do you see what the fears of the TUC and the NLC, do you see that actually coming to pass?
Actually, it is not the fear by the TUC and NLC. They are speaking from experiential point of view. Even an ordinary Nigerian who is them, a member of neither of these bodies will tell you the same thing, because Nigerians have experienced this over and over and over. Over the years, we have seen even those who are well off in Nigeria still struggle to hijack little things that are given to the ordinary people of Nigeria, even when they don't need them. The 2020 experience, the NSAS experience, was a major point of reference, where months before the NSAS protest, which snowballed into a violent protest after some people were shot at Lekki toll gate, palliatives were given. It was a global crisis where people could not go out to buy, who did not expect anything from government, they couldn't go to their farms or do anything. The global community and agents rallied around to give some kind of intervention. And when he got to Nigeria, I remember federal government of Nigeria budgeting over 500 billion. Palliatives were given cash and materials. And some of those things, these politicians, governors, and all manner of characters in government were claiming to have gotten them to the people. We saw pictures of people holding nylon bags that they were distributing rice and beans. In a particular case in Lagos, they were even giving people expired rice and beans in nylon. People were bringing them out. The videos are all over the place. People can go and check. It happened that even as the people were suffering, we were bringing them more suffering. But what was mind-boggling was to discover that months down the line, during the crisis, some warehouses were broken into, and most of those things were there. Some had even been branded, rebranded, for birthday parties of politicians months ahead, while the people were dying today. Knowing this history of Nigerian governors and politicians, anybody taking them serious he on herself is not even serious. I mean, this is a country, again, it tells you something deeper.
Wait, great. Are you saying that you don't trust the president's intention to help ameliorate the state of poverty that a couple of Nigerians are currently going through? He's actually pleading. He's pleading to Nigerians to be understanding, to be patient, that all the rollout palliative measures, both in transportation, agriculture, and welfare, is coming in phases. So are you saying you don't trust the intention of the president?
These people are all, in Nigeria we say the more things change, the more they remain the same. There is not issue of trust, and it's not issue of intention. Intention does not solve the problem. Over and over, we remember under Buhari, which is still under this APC administration, the last dispensation, we started by saying things are slow. Now Buhari started taking some decisions. Nigerians were asked to wait. This is not the first time. This is not the second. This is not the every generation of politicians in Nigeria have repeated the same thing. It was under Buhari that the popular saying that patience is a virtue became a mantra. And until he left, things kept getting worse. You don't blame Nigerians for not believing anybody. And telling us about president's intention is not enough. What Nigerians want to see is solution. But let me tell you, sometimes I am minded to think that actually this crop of Nigerian politicians, they don't really have solution to the problem. They appear to be confused, because before you announce policy statements, you must have worked out all the details. There are no off-ramps. These guys don't have off-ramp. You just pronounce a policy, and then the crisis happens, then you want to placate people with words. And like we have just said, there's not going to be increment pump price. It is now driven by market forces. And here we see dollar going up, and the importers are using dollar. And you are saying subsidy. How can you remove subsidy and the market is driven by market forces, And at the same time, the market forces is driving the dollar prices high, and the importers will require dollar to bring it. And you are telling Nigerians to believe. That means you are systematically actually going back to subsidy. Because if you don't subsidize the shortfall, definitely the importers will stop importing. Then the crisis will get worse. What I mean, these guys don't have plan. They just come listen to some of the things analysts say on TV and pronounce them as policy statements, because when you listen to them and when you see how they are handling things, let me tell you one of the fundamental things I will tell you that people leading Nigeria are not serious. No country in the 21st century, no modern nation is governed without accurate data. Now, as of this morning, we don't know how many. Look at the crisis happening in Niger. It was referenced recently as an issue in Nigeria because most Nigerians or people who are even living in Nigeria are Nigerians. Across the border, there are no differences. So across those 900 miles of border, we don't even know who are Nigerians and who are not Nigerians, who should we plan for and who we should not plan for. There is no data. We don't know how many people who died yesterday in Nigeria. We don't know how many kids who were born yesterday. We don't know how many that is getting to the age of 10. We don't even have plan for those who are getting to the age of 20, those who are graduating for university. Data management is poor in Nigeria. From that singular point, you will just know that you don't have, these people don't even understand elementary things in governance because you have to plan using data. So telling Nigerians be patient, I want to give a palliative of 8,000 to 12 million households. Who is those 12 million households? How do you identify who is really poor? Who have skills among them? Who have secondary education? Who has primary education? Who have technical skills? Who are those who can fend for themselves? Who are sick among them? Who are women among them? Who are boys among them? All of this data has to come into play if you want to solve the national problem. And I've never seen people discussing these issues.
Now we
have attempted to gather any form of data through telecommunication companies. We have those. We have done our biometrics. You go to bank, you do your biometrics. You go to you want to get driver's license, you do your biometrics. You go to this is it what they call names? You get your biometrics. We have about 4, 5, 6 management agencies or bodies that capture biometrics, and all of them are not useful, literally, because they don't have accurate data of anything, and they are segmented data. When I was in Ghana in 2012, when I was a consultant for there's a presidential amnesty vendor, we went to train some of these ex-military. In Ghana, you are given a national ID card. You use it for your banking. You use it even for your election. You use it for every other thing because all your vitals are captured in that this thing. Wherever you go, except you want to travel out of Ghana, you don't require any other document. One single national identity card identifies you on all fronts. I said, till tomorrow, we are not discussing it. And that is where, when I don't hear things like that, I just know that we don't have serious-minded people governing Nigeria. Please don't, it's not an insult. I want you to go and check anywhere where a modern society, where a serious-minded people are being governed without accurate data. How can you solve a problem in a nation where you don't even know how many people you should be feeding in the next 10 years? How many, even when we say 20 million children are out of school, guesstimate. So how many classrooms should you be building? What set skills do you need? Today, Chinese people who had never gone to even secondary school in their country, that have simple technical education, are building roads in Nigeria, collecting our foreign reserve, depleting the economy, where people who have gone to school to study civil engineering in Nigeria don't have jobs. How many Nigerians have civil engineering skills? Where are the jobs? In fact, Nigeria is a mismatch of so many things, and yet we don't have leaders with vision to make it happen. Please, I'm not impressed by all these rabble-rousing stories, motivational speaking, where serious thinking is required. Please, all these things. In fact, even
it's interesting
to interview two different people in the same government, they will tell you two different things.
Great,
please.
Great. Okay, great. Now it's interesting that you mentioned the register. I'm going to take a quote here from Babagana Zulum, where he said something. He said the council has also taken note of the $800 million loan and insists that it be strictly used for the intended purpose and based on an accurate and acceptable register. The $800 million announced by the president will go to Nigerians in accordance with an accurate social register. So you don't think there is a register somewhere. You don't have the belief that there's a register somewhere that they can. Now, I should make to respond to that. John said something. I'm going to stay with you a little bit on this one. John said something that I want to, point you towards. He said something about the possibility of party friends to the party, or those that worked for a particular party in a state, the dominant party in the state, being the ones to benefit from these things when they start to come. Do you think that is also a possibility? Do you share that view as well? Quickly.
Moses, it is not whether it's a possibility, it's a reality. Let me start with the first one, the statement made by Baba Gana Zulum. Sometimes I think I used to take him a little more serious than some other governors. Some years back, while he was a commissioner for reconstruction in Borno State, I appeared on one of these Saturday programs on a television station, Sunrise on channels. And I particularly in that at that sitting where we had that program, I actually challenged some of their thinking at that time, even though I think he's a serious-minded person, because as of that time, we were talking about reconstruction, and I noted that federal government had their own plan, state had their own plan, local government had their own plan, NGOs had their own plan. The same problem, everything is mismatched. Let me tell you, sometimes to be an intelligent person it means not to be told everything. When the governor is talking about underline the word accurate register, just underline. I may not have heard him, but based on even what you said, quoting him, when you hear the word register in the statement, take it out, digest it, you will understand what he's saying. What is the man telling you? There have been purported registers of left, right, and center. Even him as a sitting governor, one of the leaders of the taxes component units of Nigeria, is still using the word, using accurate register. That tells you there is no accurate register. And to buttress that, that is what my brother here have said, that even where they attempt to do these things, the literal accurate register that exists anywhere is the party register they use in their ward meeting, the party register they have in their local government, and in their state. Because literally, I don't know any state in Nigeria that gives any accurate register of anything. The only accurate register that exists is the politician register, which is what my brother is saying. And it's not it's not a hearsay. I have experienced it. I know of it very well. And mind you, I've also worked as a media aid to a gubernatorial candidate. And you see these things, even within the political party, they have groups where if the politician, the governor, has been supported by one group, sometimes he tends to even cheat, his supporters tend to cheat on the other members of the party, claiming that the candidate was theirs. They have all manner of names, like the president had in the same party in APC, you had a mandate group which belonged to the current president, where he was still the leader of the party in the state and even in the nation. You had other groups. So these things are real.
All right.
They are real.
All right,
because
John. All right, Grace. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me ask John this question. John, so questions have arisen from what is going on now in the country, especially with the recent, would I say, nominated ministers. Now, the president constitutionally is assigned 36, nominated ministers and 36 portfolios. The question now is, he has 48. He has actually, surpassed those of his predecessors in terms of the appointment with the minister. Do you think that the government is not understanding the reality of the situation by running an over-bloated ministerial platform, considering the fact that We need funds to ameliorate. We need funds for development. We need funds for job creation. So do you think that part of the problems we will face with this administration is the over-bloated cabinet that he has constituted?
Well, I would say to you on two different angles, and these are two different schools of thought that's out there in the public domain.
Okay.
The first school of thought is that of people who feel like there is a kind of rejig in the ministries. If you look at what we usually have, this administration seems to like create more ministries, revamp some in terms of renaming them, and I think with that they'll be given a new objective to achieve. And with these new objectives, we are also expecting that we'll get new or better improved results. Take, for instance, the Ministry of Culture and Tourism. There's also a Ministry of Innovation, So they have tried to create some ministries, to see that they can bring in more potentials out of Nigeria so that they can generate more wealth. For me, I think what is more important is that these ministers should know that the Tea Party, Nigeria is in a dear need of solutions, and the solutions should come now. And people have been waiting, and they've been anticipating, and they see that whoever gets whatever portfolio, you are the minister now, you have been confirmed, and you should get to work and make sure that Nigerians really feel the impact of you as a minister in that ministry, and that the impact, gets to even the masses at the grassroots. And that is what is more important to me. As to spending more in governance, I think this administration is clear to say to you that we are going to spend more in governance. But if you are spending more in governance, the result of your spending should be to have more wealth, to have more lives impacted. If more lives are not impacted, then this administration would have been categorized as the worst administration so far. Why? Because they have more ministers than other administrations. They have spent more money in terms of political appointees, in terms of salary and allowances, and in terms of prayers that are sent to people's mail. So I think if having done all that and people do not really see the improved effect on the livelihood and the economy, then it will be a shame to this administration. And if you look at the state, the Ministry of Solid Minerals, Nigeria as a country is really endowed in terms of natural resources. There's hardly no state in this country that do not have good solid minerals down beneath the earth crust. But what happens most of the time is that it is been, because of lackadaisical attitude of government, some non-state actors are the one. Imagine a state like Zamfara, people mining gold. Imagine a state like Osun, having gold, and the government is not actually looking at issues on how they can, revamp that sector, make it a more lucrative sector, and see how they can get foreign exchange from these mineral resources. And, we only focus on oil. Can we also look at non-oil sector and how they can generate good amount of money? A state like Ondo State is rich in bitumen. Can we also look at how we can revamp that? So there are so many things that are underneath the earth crust in Nigeria, all across the state, that is even beyond the crude oil we are all looking at. And if this government is really serious about it, which I think they are, but then, it's too early for us to say they are serious until we get to maybe 2 years down the line. Then we can look back and say, have we fared better as a people and a nation? If the answer is yes, we give good to them. If the answer is no, we give them more knocks on their head, because that's not the renewed hope that they promise Nigerians.
All right, John, I'm going to stay with you a little bit on this one. Now, federal government has said it intends to establish more gas stations in Nigeria, provide CNG buses, and as well as put these things in place. Now, it's been over 2 months. It's going on 3 months since subsidy was removed. Now we're talking about palliatives being given to states. Now, should there be a time frame that Nigerians should expect the workability of these things, that if they don't come within this time frame, then we need to start asking questions?
I think, Moses, it's not Nigerians that should be asking. It is the governor, the president, that should give a marching order. Nigeria have become a state where there's no consequences for actions. And that is a big problem. So I think if a minister in my cabinet, if I were to be the president, I give you your KPIs, your key performing index or indicator, so to say. And then in 6 months, if I don't get to see that there's an improvement in your ministry, you're fired. In 1 year, if I don't see that there are policies in place that would show that we are actually moving on a good road, then you get out of the cabinet. And I think it's the president that should give this marching orders to all of these ministers that have been appointed. We have gone past the stage of politics about governance. And I think the president should give the marching order, and tell his ministers, these are what I expect from you. And based on that, the president can now connect with the people and say, Nigerians, we have our ministers in place now, and these are the key performing index or indicators that have been given to each of them according to their ministries. And that in 6 months, in 1 year, we should be seeing this. In the next 1.5 years, we should be seeing this. And if such, is not coming, then the people can now call on the president and say, Mr. President, this is what you told us. Then in the next 6 months, we'll get this. In the next 1 year, we'll get this. We're not getting this. Then the president can, in turn, interrogate his ministers, and if they are found wanting, he can let them go and then bring in capable ones that can get these things done. But in the case of Nigeria, accountability for us is a big problem. That's
all right. Thank you.
I'm scared.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Great. But you will stay with us because we need to go into the second segment of the program, whereby the DSS have disclosed that terrorists are planning to attack the Abuja-Kaduna train. We'll get into this after this very brief break.